You're listening to All Things Considered on WNYC. I'm Tiffany Hansen. Many New Yorkers are struggling with rising food costs, thanks in part to the country's historic jump in inflation, the highest in 40 years, according to recent data. Poor, working class, and immigrant communities are the hardest hit. With me to talk about what inflation means for folks who were already food insecure is WNYC's Arun Venugopal. Hi, Arun.
Hi, Tiffany.
So first, just so we understand what kind of an increase we're talking about here, how big of a jump has it been both for overall inflation numbers and food costs specifically?
Well, the overall increase for food alone has been just short of 10% over the last 12 months. But what that figure doesn't tell us is the fairly dramatic increases for specific staples that people consume, like eggs and flour. Chicken has gone up 16%, bacon 18%. Things like oranges and lemons have gone up around that same amount. Butter is almost 20% more expensive than it was a year ago. Even organizations, organizations that buy in bulk, say they're paying way more. For instance, a 12-pack of peanut butter, like 12 jars that people bought in bulk, that might have cost $14 a couple years ago. Now that costs like $28. A dozen eggs that they procured for, say, 75 cents for a dozen before the pandemic now costs $3 or $4. So when you add that up, we're talking about organizations that buy, say, hundreds, if not thousands of units of these things. It's a considerable burden on them. What also means that people are cutting back, especially, as you said, working class and poor New Yorkers.
So when we're talking about organizations, what you mean are programs that provide food for folks in need, right?
Correct. Food shelters, soup kitchens, and other sorts of, food delivery, city meals on wheels.
So how is this price increase in bulk items specifically affecting their work and what they can do to help folks who may need it more now?
Yeah, well, for some it means that they're appealing for additional help and for donations to cover these considerably higher costs. But there are also pantries that are just giving out less. La Jornada operates 12 locations across Queens, and they say that they're giving out about half of what they used to and to fewer families than they used to. The same is the case with Masbia, which has 3 soup kitchens, as well as food pantries in Queens and Brooklyn. And their executive director, Alexander Rappaport, told me they might have provided a family with, say, 70 or 80 pounds of food supplies in 2020. Now, he says, if they can hand out 30 or 40 pounds, he's happy. So it's that bad.
So these types of organizations aren't the only way that folks can get help. The federal government has responded to the individuals, right?
Yeah, I mean, the most direct answer has been the SNAP program, or Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, what we used to call food stamps. And Joel Berg is the CEO of Hunger Free America. He told me this has been incredibly important.
The only thing that has prevented really mass developing world levels of famine or starvation in America and New York were a vast expansion of the federal safety net.
So is this permanent?
The people I spoke to, they don't see this coming down anytime soon. One person, Mark Cohen, who's at Columbia Business School, he says, I think it's going to be at least a year before these forces kind of unwind. And that is if there's not, say, more disruption from, say, the war in Ukraine or these other large global geopolitical forces. We've seen famines, droughts, bad crops in certain parts of the world. These really affected the overall supply chain. So it's really only anyone's guess how long this is going to last.
So zooming out for both groups and individuals alike, next year might not be any better than this year.
That's correct, Tiffany.
Arun, thanks so much. We appreciate your reporting on this.
Thank you.